On today's video, I'm going to talk to you about why taxing the rich is actually hurting the poor, or as I like to say it, why taxing the rich is a stupid idea. Like, I do get it. There are so many opposing opinions on this, and you're entitled to yours as I am to mine. But I mean, even history shows us that over-taxation has never been a good method. It's always been a dangerous path. Even back in the eons of time, even here in England, places like America as well, people rose up against high, unfair taxation, especially when it comes to those business owners, resisting those oppressive taxes and those policies that are getting put in place. It's just a silly, silly idea.
Overtaxing the wealthy don't just hurt them, it forces smart business owners to move their operations elsewhere, costing the public thousands of jobs. The UK has seen this with companies relocating to countries with friendlier tax policies.
Look, the reality is when you start a business, you're actually starting something very risky. You're taking on enormous risk. You're providing huge risk with huge upside potential, of course, to yourself. But the people you employ, you're now responsible for them, their families, their whole financial security. You're taking on that burden when you are essentially setting up a business. And when these entities start coming in and heavily taxing those who create these jobs, who create these opportunities for employees, investing that time into these people and giving them those opportunities, essentially, these entities are just taking that money that could be used to pay employees more money and raising wages and things like that. And essentially, they're investing it in inefficient government programs. That's what high taxation does. It's never been a good strategy because the funds, the capital that is raised from these taxations are never put into anything efficient.
And guess what? As business owners, not only they're paying higher taxes, but also being forced to act as an unpaid tax collector, having to hire people to calculate, collect, and remit taxes for their employees, all while not getting compensated for any of that work.
And people always say this, and I hear this all the time, that rich people need to pay their fair share. Okay, but the reality is they already do. They disproportionately pay more taxes than the everyday working man and woman. They pay way more taxes per quarter than some people pay in an entire decade. That's just the reality, but people don't actually look at the maths. They try to give it a blanket answer that there needs to be a blanket taxation, and it doesn't work. It won't work. It's not something that is, one, fair, because one, the world isn't fair. And it's just a political soundbite. It sounds cool to tax the rich more, to hand to the poor. This isn't Robin Hood. This isn't a fairy tale, because taxing on a blanket scale and letting them pay their fair share, that's not actually measurable.
Excessive taxation punishes creators and innovators, the very people who make the world a better place. From the inventors of the steam engine to today's tech entrepreneurs, innovation thrives when creators are rewarded, not penalized.
I'm going to be completely real with you now, okay? And stick with me here. So, at the moment, there's a huge, huge agenda being pushed for politicians and public figures that are promising to tax the rich to fix this income inequality that's happening globally, all right? Now, let's add a new myth. Reason is because income, right, is the direct result of the value creation. So the value you create is equal to the income you will receive. That's the principle of law of life. Okay, I didn't create this up. This is how it is. So if you want to earn more, focus on creating more value for others. You solve big problems, you get paid big money. That's the real solution. It's not robbing from prosperity to hand to poor. It's just not something that works. It sounds cool, I agree, it does sound good. And of course, income inequality is a huge issue. But we can't just point the finger and point to someone who is worked their ass off, who's successful, who's made it out of the mud, come from places where you probably still are right now, and made to something, how would you feel? How would you feel that, essentially you're being invited to dinner? Let's say 8 people on the table, you sit down to dinner, and because you earn the most, because you're super free financially, those other 7 people get up and say you're paying the bill. How would you feel? That's essentially what high taxation for rich is. It doesn't make sense. It's not measurable, like we keep saying.
Entrepreneurship does more good in the world than almost any other concept. And yet, society still villainizes the very people who are creating these jobs, continuing to innovate and solve real problems.
And I do get it, I do. And there's always this notion and there's always this idea that rich people are this, group of people, elite people that are super evil, that live in towers and don't care about the poor. And it's just not the case. Yes, of course, there are some evil entrepreneurs. I've met a few, of course, but most entrepreneurs that I've met are great people. They're really, really good people. They're family people with great values, great principles, and people who actually want to serve their communities, their clients, and just make the world a better place. They're the people I come across. Never forget is that all the competition happens at the bottom. Collaborations happen at the top. And that's where real value creation is formed. And that's why these people are rich and these people attain wealth, is because they're creating maximum value. Believe it or not, contrary to belief, they're not actually focusing on their self. They're focusing on providing great product or service or solving problems on a large scale for people like yourself and me. Now, here's the irony. This will get you. Is because the more the government actually overtaxes entrepreneurs, the less good people like myself, people with businesses, can actually provide the world. I mean, I personally know entrepreneurs who have great initiatives in funding orphanages, homeless people, all types of different great efforts and programs, and businesses that fund that. When you're overtaxing them, you are literally directly taking money out of those people's mouths. You are literally taking money away from those efforts. And this is what overtaxation does. It will penalize people who are creating value and making the world a better place. So everyone, do this with me right now, okay? Hold up something that represents some kind of money, whether it be cash, credit card, your phone with Apple Pay, whatever it is, okay? And repeat this after me. The only reason I have money in my pocket is because somewhere, somebody sold something to somebody for a profit. That's called entrepreneurship. And that's what makes the world go round. Because people think that taxing the rich will help the poor, and it's wrong. It will actually make everything more expensive for people. Why? Because businesses just pass that tax on to the consumer.
When you tax the entrepreneur, you're really taxing the working class.
So look, at the end of the day, you don't kill an appetite by continuing to feed the beast. You kill an appetite by fasting, by starving it. The government's appetite for spending is out of control. It's unsustainable. So look, when it comes down to it, there are 2 types of people and you need to make a choice. Those 2 types of people in the economy are either makers or they're takers. And the government have always been and forever will be lifelong takers. You decide which team you want to play for. So listen guys, look, if you're tired of being lied to consistently and you're ready to become that maker and not a taker, hit that like button, subscribe, share it out with somebody, man, and let's keep building that world that actually works.